property line, just as practice. And this is 50 feet by 100 feet, so it's big. So if you want to draw a rectangle, the way I do it is I go with the rectangle command. I pick my start point and then I use coordinates because we talked about X and Y coordinates. And that would be 50 feet, comma, 100 feet. And it'll just pop it for me. You could also go one line at a time, right? 50 feet, 100 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet. I mean, there's lots of different ways to draw. The advantage and disadvantage to using rectangle is it's one object. If I mouse over it, the whole thing gets highlighted, right? That can be both advantage and disadvantage. Just know if you use a rectangle, first of all, you're saving some memory because it's one object, not four, right? But it's harder to manipulate because it's one object, not four. So you can still trim it, but like to offset it, it's going to do the whole rectangle if I offset it, which maybe is what I want. Like if I was doing a house plan, you know, and it was basic rectangle, I could do the house plan and then offset it 6 inches, and now I have the exterior walls, right? So there's advantages and disadvantages to using everything, rectangles, for example. All right. I went 100 by 50 by 100. Very common lot size if you're going to do a development. Tiny, 50 by 100 is tiny, but you can get it all in, right? House, septic, well, you can get it all in. As a land developer, you want to stack these up and sell them individually. So that's what they do. Those of you that just came in, we're just practicing. So I'm just going to do a run through of a large drawing, some text in that large drawing that we still are going to get to show up on a small piece of paper. And then also dealing with paper space, model space, and the title block, placing text exactly where we want it, not just guessing. I mean, guessing's fine if it's not critical, right? And it's all about like, okay, in a title block, how anal do I want to get? Do I want it like perfect in there, or am I just like eyeballing things, right? So CAD, we usually want it perfect, and once you get it perfect, then we will reuse it over and over and over once we get it right the way we want it. All right. So some folks are following along, like follow the leader. So we have a 50 foot by 100 foot rectangle. That's all we've done. Oh, we set our units to architectural so we could put in apostrophe. Good? You with me, Frank? All right. So before you place text, before you place dimensioning, you've got to know your scale. Okay, you've just got to understand what scale you're using to get this thing onto a piece of paper. So the way we do that is with layout. These are called layout. Layout 1, layout 2. So if I say, are you in layout? I mean, are you in one of these tabs? Right? Are we in layout now? No, we're in this model. That's where we're at. See how it's kind of highlighted? Right? If I click on layout 1, I'm in layout now. That doesn't answer the question whether I'm in paper space or model space. I'm just in the view of layout, which means I get to see the piece of paper. That's how you know you're in layout, right? So in model space, I don't get to see the paper. I can zoom all I want, and I don't see no paper, right? There's no paper there. In layout, you actually get to see the paper. Okay, and we can customize this, and that's what we'll do in the near future. Is it comes to us 8.5 by 11, this size paper, which actually some counties have gone to required paper size, which is crap, because a big drawing on this size paper is crap. Like, it's really hard to do. Most will let us go to B size, which is the 11 by 17, right? But AutoCAD just gives you A, both in layout 1 and layout 2. They're both the same size piece of paper. Okay, that's just what it gives you. we can change it. So if I right click, not pick button, but right click, if you're a mouse driver, on layout 1, there is something called page setup. Page setup manager. And this is important thing, because when I go into there, what it's going to look like is it's going to kind of look like printer setup, but it's not. It's setting the layout. Like, what if I didn't want 8.5 by 11? What if I wanted B-size paper, right? All of that is in here. I'm in layout 1. I'm going to modify it. This is what's going to look a lot like a printer dialog box, but it's not. You see it up to the left, it says page setup layout 1, but I can change the paper size. So I could go to B size and my paper would get bigger, right? And I'll have you do B size stuff. B size is preferred because it's so much more room, right? Mine is in inches here.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Mine's in millimeters, 210 millimeters, but 290.
I have a feeling you started with an ISO template, and not a regular ACAD template. I think it gives you, does it give you, yeah, if you pull it down, there are ISO choices down below, and there are US choices up above. So in the ANSI, American National Standards Institute, we refer to paper as A size, B size, C size, D size. And then it gives you the dimensions next to it. Yeah.
What do you print B size?
I can print it here. Yeah. Most robust copiers like that business machine will do B size. Won't do C. That printer back in the corner will do C and D. Big format printer. But counties don't take them anymore. They don't want anything to do with those big ass prints anymore. They will take B size at the big. Clackamas County will take B. Multnomah County, Portland will not take B. It's got to be A size, which is just like, really?
You know if the library does it?
If it's a business type machine, it'll do B size. Yeah. Yep. So what I'm going to do, just because my drawing is, it's kind of tall, right? And skinny. It's not portrait. Like, I want to put this thing maybe the other way. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to leave it at this letter size, but I'm going to switch it to portrait. And that's down here. Again, it's a lot like a printer dialog box, but it's not doing printing. It is just setting up your paper space. Don't muck with the scale. We want paper space or layout to be 1-to-1. Don't mess with it there. That's not where we tweak scale. So the only thing I'm doing is switching this thing to portrait. Okay. And I say, okay, and it should happen. Boom, there it goes. So now I have layout 1 and layout 2 is still landscape. Layout 1 is portrait, right? So I just flipped the paper. It didn't mess with my viewport. It left the viewport right there, right? So I need to mess with the viewport. So I'm in paper space and I need to get this like out and bigger. I noticed some of you didn't manipulate that. If you don't make it big, you're just actually using a smaller portion of the paper, of a already small piece of paper, right? So get that viewport out big. The other thing you can do that's super handy, and we'll want to start doing this, is rename the layout. So the name of the layout is layout 1 and layout 2. That's the default. It's like when I open a drawing, it's called drawing 1, right? That's the default. All of that is bad. So we can rename it. So for example, I'll rename this one. And what I do is, all it does is highlight it down here. Is I always put in the size of the paper. I might not typically put the word size, but I am for you. A size, and then maybe portrait, is that right? Portrait. Maybe spelling error, but it'll take it anyway, right? So I just renamed it. And this is super important because we can steal this layout out of this file and use it in other files. If it's named something different, if it's named layout one, you can't use it. So it's good to rename it. All right.
You get rid of the grid.
Does that make you crazy? Those quick buttons on a Windows system are right down here. So in here, this is model space, right? Out here is paper space. So I'd have to get into model space and then I'd have to unclick the grid. It's right down here at the bottom. But it's only going to get rid of it if in your model space, right? So I'm in paper space. So model paper is right here. If I want to work on the model, I have to be in model space, and then I can work through the viewport and work on the model. If I want to work on the title block or just on the piece of paper, then I want to be in paper. If I want to manipulate this viewport, I got to be in paper because that viewport is in paper space.
How do we get rid of the grids? When you're in it right now in paper, how do I get rid of the grid?
You can't. There is no grid choice. You have to get in model space. So if in model space,
Grid, I got no grid model.
your grid's in paper,
Yeah.
no way. I have no idea. I can't even turn a grid on here, so I don't know how you're doing that. I can't see that. All right, I'll come look. This, no, that's layout. Let's get the terminology right. Okay. This is layout. Right. Within layout, you have paper space or model. Okay. You are in model space, that's what it is. You gotta be in model space, but I'm not on. Okay. Here's this. It's a little different. You gotta get on your Star Trek thing. You gotta, I really. Right click on layout. Page setup.
It's
Modify this now when it's chosen, so you have to modify. It doesn't even have that in your portrait when it's like, that's how I saw it.
you wanna go into model space.
So anything you want to do to that, you don't gotta go into this page setup. That's all right. Good. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta stop me, because I just keep rolling thinking you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. Come on, man, step up. This is next level education. It is too fast, I get it. All right, are we good so far? You got a rectangle that's 50 by 100? Okay, can you see it in layout? So this is layout. Can you see yours? Yeah, okay, good. So this drawing would need to be done for me to be at this step. So you want to do your drawing first, or at least get it 95% done before you start thinking about dimensioning and putting text down, because now's where we're going to figure out the scale. And we have to have that scale to make text work. Okay. So anyone remember how to do this? How do I figure out the scale? It's going to do it for me if I just drive it right. I don't have to do any math. I know it's big, right? This is 50 feet by 100 feet on a little dinky piece of paper, on a paper this size, right? So I know the scale is big, but I don't know how big. And I got to know precisely how big. So in layout is where you do it. We're in layout, right? In model space is where you do it. So I got to get to model space. How do I do that?
Hit paper.
You can hit the button paper. How else can I do it? Oh, wow. You can type it in. How else can I do it really easy? Double click inside the viewport. Click in the viewport. So that's how I do it. I go in here and I go click. See how it changed? If you go outside of the viewport, anywhere with your mouse and click, paper space. You're just telling it, hey, I wanna work in paper, I wanna work in model, paper, model, right? We've got to be in model to figure out the scale factor. When you're in paper, there is no scale choice down here. You don't get that choice. When you're in model, you get the scale choice. And that little creature is how we're gonna figure it out. And we're gonna start guessing. I think it's big, like 100, like 1 to 100 or something. So I'm gonna try 1 to 100. Yeah, not bad. It's not bad. It doesn't fit though. It'd be nice if it fit. Right? But it does not. So I keep guessing. Is there one bigger than 1 to 100? Nope. I could go to the architectural scales because they're more powerful than these. They're just bigger. Like if I chose 1/32 of an inch equals 1 foot. So that means 1/32, which is like super tiny, equals a foot. That's a pretty big scale. Let's see what that gives me. That's a little too big. I don't want my property to be that tiny on the piece of paper. This is how you do it. You're just like, oh, okay, that one's a little too big. I'll try 16th. Oh, I kind of like that. And it's a common scale. A 16th equals a foot. I can actually see a 16th on my ruler.
So if we don't have those other ones on our scale list, if we can add them. If you've already got them loaded in here.
Yeah, they should come automatically. If you're using, you and I are gonna look at that in a bit, because I have a feeling you're using the wrong template. Okay. But those all should be there. Are those not there for other people?
At this scale, my drawings very. 1/16.
I'm a 16 to the foot and you're not the same view of it as that? Did you make it? I'm not sure you made it. Maybe you didn't make it 50 feet by 100 feet. Maybe it's only 50 inches by 100 inches. It should be about that big. Like if you're 50 feet by 100 feet. Did you actually put the apostrophe in? So jump to model space and draw a 100-foot line and compare it to your rectangle. That's nice. I'm just guessing, but that's my guess. It's the same? Yesterday I had. So now I have to figure out what's different. What do we different?
Whoa, how does that happen? You gotta have your feet. I don't know, it's your posture, it's my posture, I can find what I did. It's gone. Yeah, it's on. This is just. Yours is gonna act different, because you're in an ISO something. It's not 100 feet. You must be, because I can go. But you go file here. Yeah, see what it's loading. Loading the metric one, every time. You've got to choose a cat if you want to. Where between check a cat, please. Okay. You go file in. You get that close every time. No, it's defaulted for that. Okay. All right. But I keep going here now. So I like this scale, 1/16 to 1. That was the goal, was just to figure the scale out. Once you have it, then you can set the scale in your drawing to understand, hey, I'm going to use this 1/16 to 1. And I want that applied to everything I do as far as text goes and dimensions go. Okay, then I don't have to think about it. I can just think about what size I want on the paper, which will be all I ask for, or all your boss will ask for, is that, you know, if it's an old dude like me, they might want 3/16 text so they can see it, right? Or the company might want 1/8 text, everything, right? So whether you're drawing a Boeing 747 or whether you're drawing a microchip, we would like 1/8 text on the drawing so we can all see it. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's got to be big enough to see it, but not so big that it's a pain. So once I get it, I usually write it down somewhere so I don't forget, 1/16 to 1 foot. But I'm going to jump straight to model space because this is where I want to draw. And I'm going to switch it right away. And you can see it sitting here. That's the annotative scale factor. I know now, I wish AutoCAD kind of linked them for you, but you can have multiple layouts going at multiple scales, so it can't do that. This is going to go to, what's my number? 16th. So that doesn't change anything you're looking at. All that does is it triggers annotative text to look at that scale factor and adjust paper size. Okay, because if I put 1/8 text in at 1 to 1, that's what it was set at. It's going to be microscopic because this is a 100 feet and 50 feet, right? So I'll do that. I'm gonna leave the scale alone and just place the text. Ooh, get this thing out of my way. Okay. Right, and I use single line text. Single line text. So I'll talk about multi-line text in the future, but right now I'm just using single line text, right? First thing it asked me for is a start point. I'm gonna put it here. Then it says specify the height. I want 0.125. And then a rotation angle, if I wanted it vertical or at an angle or something, I'm gonna leave it at 0. And then I type 50 feet. When you type, you'll always see it when you're typing, regardless how big it's gonna be when you place it. So I see it, right? But then I have to enter twice and then it's gone because it's actually there. You can see it. It's just tiny. That's 1/8 inch text. That's 50 feet. That's not gonna work. And that's because I didn't change this, right? I just left it 1-to-1. So if you ever place text and you think it disappeared, it probably didn't. It's just probably so small you can't see it, right? So how do I get this to work? I have to change the text style. And the default is standard on everything. Standard means it's just going to be its normal standard size. It's not going to look at any kind of scaling. I want to change it to annotative. Annotative means it's going to look at this scale factor, right? Now I'm going to change my scale factor to what I know it should be. 1/16 to a foot. And now I'm going to place that text again, and I'll place it kind of right next to this other one. So single line text is now using this annotative style, right? It'll say start point, just like it always does. I pick a start point. Notice it changed, and it says specify paper height. In other words, what size do you want on the paper? I want 0.125. 0 rotation. Whoa, text just got a bunch bigger, didn't it? 50 feet. Hit enter twice and it's going to place it. It's figuring it out for me. You might think it looks big, but when I go to layout, it doesn't look big. It looks like 1/8 inch text on layout. And it is. It's going to be 1/8 high. Now, how big did it place it? I don't know, but it placed it a hell of a lot bigger than an 1/8 inch. I could actually figure it out. I could just draw a line from like right here to right here, and that would give me the height of the text. It's about 2 feet tall. But I didn't have to figure that out, right? I just use the scale, use the annotative style, and it does it for me. Now all the text that I place will be the right size, because I have this going and I'm using annotative style for the text.
When I go with text style, it's not letting me choose. Like it's an option, but it won't be applied.
Are you in layout or are you in models? You're in model. So when you go here and to text style, how are you getting there? Through the menu?
Well, mine's on the side.
Okay.
Style. It brings up its own.
Is it this like?
Similar, yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably highly, so you can't go here and hit apply.
Correct. Like I can choose annotative, but apply is
Grayed out like mine is.
correct.
Yeah. Won't let me do it there, but it will let me do it here. Why won't it let me do it here? Current text style is standard. I have a feeling that it's because we placed text already. Let me look at that. I'm just doing a new drawing to see how it acts in the beginning. God, I hate that grid. All right, sorry, it's my OCD. Oh, you got to set it current over here.
So I don't have a set.
Wow, this is challenging. Set current. Set current. Interesting, I can't apply it either. I just feel like it doesn't need to be applied. So let's see what yeah, let's see, make a new text style. Yeah, I can't do apply either. I just set a current and then switch. So that worked. Let me see if that works again. Set current and close. Yeah, so that works for me, but you don't have set current, right? I'll have to look at that and see if I can help you figure it out. Challenges. Now I have like multiple drawings going and I'm going to get confused. All right, here we go. That's good. All right. The last thing I want to do is like a little bit of paper space stuff. So back into layout, into paper space. So remember, 2-click in here, that is model space. 2-click out here, that is paper space. So I'm just going to draw a portion of this title block. That's where this title block would go in paper space. We're using the upper one, which is the A size one. I know it's the A size one because it's only 7.75 wide. And this can go on a portrait or it can go on a landscape, either one. Right? Just tuck it down at the bottom in one of the corners is all you need. I'm going to draw just the beginning portions of it and then show you how to put text in a couple different ways. So we get a little more control over text. So in paper space, I can zoom around. So I'm just going to zoom around down to this kind of lower right corner and put in just that first box, which looks to be 1.75 wide and 3/4 tall. So the way I do it is I draw a line from here and I'd go minus 1.75 comma 0.75, and that would go up and across. So a construction line is how I do it. There's other ways to do it. I could use offset, I could use a bunch of stuff. But that basically, then I can come off of this with my green line and hook it up and then come off of this, whoops, this green line and hook it up, right? And I have the beginning of the this kind of rectangular area here. 175 by 3/4. And I just did that with coordinates, right? Then I'll use offset. So I haven't shown you offset yet. Some of you found it, I think. It's right here, that little symbol, offset. And what offset does is it will take the original object and it'll make a copy at a distance, keeping it parallel if it's a straight line. If it's a curve, it's just going to offset the curve, a circle into more circles, concentric. Super powerful command, offset. OF will pull it up right there. Remember, I'm a typer, so that's what I do. The first thing you got to do with offset is set the distance. Oh yeah, that's different. Oh, it used to be something else. I don't know what. Ortho, maybe. Perfect. Offset distance is what you need to put in. Notice that there's other options. So I'll start to talk about options of commands. When I get to text,
there's a whole bunch of options, but this one has two options. You can offset, you can put in the distance. Oh no, it has three options. You can see them in the command line. Right? Through, erase, and layer, those are all options to this command, like you can drive it differently. So through is pretty common because you can offset an object through a point of another object. So if I wanted to make a copy, but I didn't know how far away it was, but there was another object there that I wanted to set it to, I could use through. It means it's going to make a copy and it's going to go through that point. I'm going to put distance in of 0.25. And then it says select object to offset. So I'll select my object. And when I move my mouse, the mistake is students don't move their mouse, but when you move the mouse, it starts to make that copy. And it'll make that copy either direction from the original. I can make it up or I can make it down. I haven't picked a button yet. It's just an automatic offset and it's just showing you where it's going to go, right? So I will click down here anywhere and it'll place it. It stays in the command. So it's still in offset. I can see that because it says select object to offset. So that's cool. I can do it again. So there, I offset that thing twice. Now I'm kind of done with offset, so I hit escape. Offset's super powerful. You know, if these were individual lines and for, even if it's not, like a 10-foot setback is a pretty common setback on a piece of property. You can't have a structure within 10 feet of the property line. That's so your neighbor doesn't build a house on your property line. And then you try to build a house on your property line and the two walls are like sharing, right? So if you offset a rectangle, I'm going to jump into model space, offset. I just typed the whole thing that time. I'm going to put in 10 feet. And then if I offset my rectangle, there it is, 10-foot offset in. Okay, so a rectangle will offset the whole thing. A line, it'll just make a copy at a distance. All right, back to the pedal ball. Placing text. I'm going to use single line text and show you some available options. So right when you click single line text, it wants you to pick a start point. That start point is going to be lower left. So if this is my text, the default justification is there's a little button right here. That's the default justification. If you place text, you're placing it by the lower left of the start of the text. Just by default. It's pretty common. That's what we want, right? You can place the text by 9 different spots. Yeah, it's probably overkill, right? But actually these are probably huge. All right. 9 different spots. So if you don't want to place the text by this, you can place it by this, or by this, or by this. Your choice, you just have to set it. And that's the J for justify. Notice that it gives you the options to the command, and then it gives you just the type. Like you just got to type J for justify or S for style. Okay, so if I hit J, I will see all of the choices. And I often don't remember them all, but I bet I can figure out TL is top left. PC is top center. Should be a TR top right. Get it? And then there's the middle. This is all the middle. And then this is the bottom. So the one that gets used a lot is middle center. Like we want our text just like spot on centered up or something, right? So if you choose middle center, it'll place it by the middle center of the text. Now you got to have a spot for it. Like if I did want my text in the geometric perfect center of this box, I need a marker of some kind. I don't know where that is. I could guess, but guessing's not great.
So if I wanted it in the exact middle, I would draw a line knowing that the middle of this line is the exact middle of this rectangle, right? So then if I go text, single line, I go justify, you got to hit J before you hit your pick point. And then I go middle center. And then I choose the middle of the line with my object snap. I have it. Specify the height, 0.125. Specify the rotation, 0, same old stuff. Text. Notice that it's going in the geometric center as I type, right? So it's already triggered that middle center point. Place it twice, it's perfectly in the center of that box. Get rid of your construction line, done deal. What a pain. But that's how you do it. The good news is once you get it done, then that's a placeholder. We'll just modify the text for future drawings, right? We don't have to do it over and over and over, but we kind of have to know how to do it at some point. If I wanted the text, and they're not telling me how far over it is, I'll say it's an 1/8 inch over. So I might go offset. So this one, I'm going to do left justified. And I'm going to go 0.125. 125 is too much. I'm going to go 0.1. That's too much for the down below part. They're both too much. I'm going to go 0.05. Oh, I like that better. So I just offset both lines 0.025, and that's so I have a marker right here, this intersection, right? So now if I go text, that's single line text. I'm going to hit J. Whoops, J. And I'm going to hit left, regular old left. It says start point. I want that intersection right there. 1/8 inch text is good. 0 is good. Right? I just placed it exactly where I want it. Get my construction lines out. Good. Justifications will control that text placement. You have full control of it. Takes a bit to kind of get used to it. Once I got that one there, I'd probably copy it. So I'll go copy. I'll select my object. When you're done selecting, you hit enter. Thank you. Base point. Where I'm going to pick it up by, and that can be anywhere. So I'm going to pick it up by this spot and place it by that spot. Those are exactly the same. It's perfect, right? So once you get one going, you can kind of just copy it. Once you get text in, you 2-click on it, it highlights it, and you can just type over the top of it, right? So 2-click, highlights it. Once you get it placed, you can turn it into whatever you want. That's why I call them placeholders, right? You get text in your title block and you just put in for a date, you put in XX/XX/XXXX, and you can come back and edit it later on the next version. All right. Perfect. I want to hit save. Questions? That was a lot, but that's kind of the whole thing again. How to set up the scale, how to drive the text so we get this exact 1/8 inch that we want, both in paper space and model space. This is your exercise. I think you have to do a front top side view again. And use a size with the title block. Fully dimension, really? Good luck with that. Same exact process as text. You gotta switch your dimension style to annotated. Okay, and then this is your dimensioning. So you can start to play with placing dimensions. Now,
That looks like a wacky unit, right? So you can edit the style, just like we edited the text, you can edit the style, modify it, and change all kinds of things, like you can change the decimal to architectural and it'll look like this. Right? You can change the precision, you can change the text height, all kinds of things. 1/8 inch, say okay, and close, and it'll change it for you. So we're gonna start to play with this. It's annotative, so it's looking at that scale that I have in there, right? It's looking at this scale and understanding, I need to make it bigger than what it actually is. So it comes out to be 1/8 inch text. The drawing you're gonna do is small. You might not have to deal with scale at all. It might fit on the piece of paper 1-to-1. And if that's the case, you don't have to deal with any scale. It fits. Right? Yeah. On the exercise, it's inches for sure. Yeah. Inches. It's tiny, actually. Kind of small, 5.5 inches. Yeah, so let's see what else I said here. A-size paper, so you probably will have to scale it. A-size paper, name the views with 1/4 inch text height. So that's pretty common that the name of the view is a little bigger than the rest of the text on the drawing. So you'll have to, that'll be tricky for you. You have to work through some scaling and figure it out. All right, good luck. I'm here to help. Yeah. Yeah, let's look at that. I did record